the centuries, violence has erupted repeatedly in the name of religion. At the end of the 11th century, the Islamic Empire stretched from Europe to Asia, and it was rich and powerful. Its vast reaches included the holy city of Jerusalem. Invoking the name of Jesus, Christian crusaders from Europe invaded the Holy Lands with the goal of liberating Jerusalem. They left a trail of slaughter and destruction.
The wounds of the Muslim people are very, very deep. Very, very deep. Everywhere. But our wounds today come from being colonized in our holiest places.
It was no accident that Osama bin Laden's declaration of war was directed at what he called the Crusaders. He called on Muslims to kill Americans and their allies, both civil and military, until their armies, shattered and broken-winged, depart from all the lands of Islam. The brutal lessons of terrorism were passed on numerous times throughout the 20th century. Post-war independence movements across the globe, in Kenya, Malaysia, Vietnam, all used campaigns of terror in their struggles to end colonial rule. And the Jewish state of Israel was born of violence too, in part at the hands of groups that used the tactics of terror. One of these groups was known as the Irgun. Joseph Nachmias joined the Irgun when he was 15, becoming part of the armed resistance that was surfacing in the region.
I had no choice. I had to fight. I had to take arms. Otherwise, I won't have a free state as I've got it today.
Their aim, to force out the British, who ruled the area then known as Palestine, that was heavily populated by Arabs, and create a Jewish state. The Irgun actually had formed in the early 30s as an underground movement. It advocated armed struggle against the British, who earlier in the century had committed to creating a homeland for the Jews. Their objectives gained new urgency following World War II and the Holocaust. Thousands of Jewish refugees from Europe surged toward Palestine, straining the already fragile relations between Arabs and Jews. The British response was to close the borders to the influx.
They used to come towards the Mediterranean and to the shores of Eretz Israel. The British won't let them in. They'll send them back to high seas at the beginning. And many of our brothers were drowned after they escaped from Europe. They were drowned because the British won't let them in. And that's the reason that we thought that we must fight the British.
It made the resistance movements even more determined.
We used to smuggle arms inside fish barrels. There was salted fish barrels, and they used to bring it to my parents' house. My mother used to open and clean the weapons and all, and then they'll take it out. There were German weapons, Italian weapons, from all kinds. Whatever could shoot, this would be all right for us.
The leader of the Irgun was a young Polish refugee named Menachem Begin. Begin advocated violence against the British authorities in Palestine using guns, bombs, and fear. It was a calculated move.
Almost all terrorist campaigns before those in Palestine in the 1940s were localized affairs. But the Jewish terrorists went a step beyond that, and they played to an audience far beyond the footprints of the, let's say, the locus of conflict. But firstly to London, they played directly to the capital to try to influence public opinion further afield in a means to achieve their aims. They also, and I think fascinatingly, played to an audience in New York because the nascent United Nations had just been organized. And their acts of violence were directed or communicated at diplomats designed to put pressure on Britain.
Begin believed that if the resistance could destroy the will and prestige of the British authority, they would depart, leaving the